Your city's water supply is being treated by an automated system. The power in your building is being regulated by industrial software. The traffic lights outside, controlled by the same type of programmable logic controllers running in factories, hospitals, and nuclear plants across the world. These systems were never designed to be connected to the internet. They were considered safe by design, physically isolated, mechanical, invisible to hackers. The CIA and Mossad knew better for 4 years. In a classified program so secret that even most of the NSA didn't know its full scope, American and Israeli engineers built a weapon, unlike anything that had ever existed. Not a bomb, not a missile. A piece of code, roughly the size of 3 music files, designed to reach inside a machine and make it destroy itself, slowly, silently. While every monitor in the control room showed that everything was perfectly fine, they tested it on real centrifuges. They deployed it inside the most heavily defended facility on Earth. It worked exactly as designed. And then, it escaped. What happened next didn't just threaten Iran, it changed what war means. It proved that the same techniques, the same logic, the same attack surface, could be turned against any industrial system, anywhere in the world, including yours. This is the story of how the CIA and Mossad built the world's first cyber weapon, how it operated for years without detection, and how the day it got out became the most dangerous moment in the history of digital warfare. To understand what the CIA and Mossad built, you need to understand what they were trying to stop. By 2006, Iran had been secretly enriching uranium for years. The facility at Natanz, buried under 25 feet of reinforced concrete in the middle of the Iranian desert, housed thousands of centrifuges, machines designed to spin uranium gas at extraordinary speeds, separating the isotopes needed for a nuclear weapon. The centrifuges ran at 1,000 rotations per second. They were precise instruments. They were also fragile. The International Atomic Energy Agency was monitoring the site, but monitoring wasn't stopping it. Diplomatic pressure wasn't stopping it. And a conventional military strike, the kind Israel had used to destroy Iraq's Osirak reactor in 1981, carried a risk of regional war that neither the United States nor Israel wanted to trigger. There was a third option. It had never been attempted. It had never even been seriously considered as an act of war. A senior CIA official later described the decision that was made. They would not bomb the centrifuges. They would make the centrifuges bomb themselves. The program was codenamed Olympic Games. It was authorized under President George W. Bush. President Obama, when he inherited it, didn't cancel it. He accelerated it. The team assembled was unlike anything in the history of intelligence. NSA cryptographers, CIA operatives, engineers from Unit 8200, the Israeli military's elite signals intelligence unit, widely considered the most technically sophisticated intelligence organization in the world, and a group of scientists who had solved a problem that seemed impossible. How do you attack a system that is not connected to the internet? The centrifuges at Natanz ran on Siemens programmable logic controllers, small industrial computers that manage physical machinery. They tell centrifuges how fast to spin, when to stop, what pressures to maintain. They are the nervous system of any industrial facility. The engineers of Olympic Games needed to reach those controllers. The problem was that Natanz operated on an air-gapped network, a system completely disconnected from the outside world. No internet connection, no external access of any kind. The only way in was physical, so they built a weapon that could travel physically. Stuxnet, the name it would later be given by security researchers, was delivered initially via USB drives, infected drives, introduced into the supply chain of companies that did business with the Iranian nuclear program. When an infected drive was plugged into any Windows computer, Stuxnet installed itself silently using a zero-day exploit, a previously unknown vulnerability in the operating system that Microsoft had no patch for. Stuxnet carried 4 zero-day exploits. This was unprecedented. Most sophisticated malware of that era used one. Using 4 simultaneously was the equivalent of a bank robber who had independently discovered 4 separate master keys and had kept all of them secret. The intelligence and effort required to acquire and hold 4 undisclosed 0 days was staggering. It was the clearest possible signal that this was not the work of criminals or a rogue state. This was a weapons program. Once inside a network, Stuxnet spread quietly. It scanned every system it touched. On most systems, it did nothing at all. It was looking for one thing: a Siemens Step 7 controller, configured in a very specific way, the exact configuration used at Natanz. When it found what it was looking for, it did something that had never been done in the history of malware. It lied to the operators. Stuxnet intercepted the sensor data being sent to the control room while it was manipulating the centrifuges, forcing them to spin too fast, then too slow, then too fast again, creating stress fractures in the rotors. It simultaneously fed the monitoring systems a recording of normal operation. Every dial showed normal. Every sensor showed normal, every readout showed normal. The centrifuges were tearing themselves apart. The engineers watching the screens had no idea. Between 2008 and 2010, Iran's nuclear program suffered a strange run of mechanical failures. Centrifuges were breaking down at an unusual rate. Iranian engineers replaced them. They broke down again. The engineers replaced them again. They assumed it was a manufacturing problem. They assumed it was operator error. They fired technicians. They questioned their own suppliers. At one point, Iranian officials publicly blamed sabotage by foreign-made components, not entirely wrong, but not understanding the true nature of what was happening. The IAEA continued inspecting. Their reports noted an unusual number of centrifuge replacements. They flagged it as anomalous. They did not know why. Estimates from US and Israeli intelligence later concluded that Stuxnet destroyed between 900 and 1,000 centrifuges, roughly 1/5 of Iran's total capacity at Natanz. More importantly, it cost Iran years, time that the diplomatic and sanctions track needed, time that negotiations used. The weapon worked precisely as designed. The engineers of Olympic Games were watching. They had built sensors into Stuxnet's code, reporting functions that quietly transmitted operational data back through covert channels. They knew what Stuxnet was doing. They watched the centrifuge failure rate climb. They tracked the Iranian response. For 2 years, the operation ran cleanly. Then an Iranian engineer made a mistake. The exact moment Stuxnet left Natanz has never been officially confirmed. What is known is the mechanism. An Iranian engineer, identity never publicly established, connected a personal laptop to a computer inside the Natanz network. That laptop later connected to the internet. Stuxnet, which had been designed to spread aggressively in order to find its specific target, spread to that laptop, and then to the internet. Stuxnet's designers had included a self-limiting function. Infected computers would pass the code to a maximum of 3 other computers. But those 3 could each infect 3 more, and so on. Within weeks, Stuxnet had escaped the intended containment zone entirely. It was spreading across networks in Iran, India, Indonesia, Pakistan, Germany, and the United States, ultimately reaching computers in 155 countries. A Belarusian security firm called Virus Blockade detected something unusual on a client's computer in June 2010. They found code unlike anything they had seen before. They shared samples with the broader security community. Within weeks, some of the world's leading cybersecurity researchers were attempting to reverse engineer what they had found. Ralph Langner, a German industrial control systems expert, was the first to publicly identify what Stuxnet was actually targeting. In September 2010, he published an analysis that stunned the security world. This was not malware designed to steal information. It was designed to physically destroy machinery. And based on its targeting logic, he identified the likely target as an Iranian nuclear facility. He ended his public presentation with a single sentence. The attackers know this stuff better than the operators who wrote the code. The CIA and Mossad had not publicly acknowledged the program. They never would. But the secret was already out. Stuxnet's escape had consequences that its architects could not fully control. The first was intelligence. Stuxnet's code was now available to every government, every intelligence agency, every security researcher, and every criminal organization in the world, with the technical capacity to analyze it. The architecture of the weapon, the methodology for attacking industrial control systems, was now public. Kaspersky Lab, the Russian cybersecurity firm, spent months dissecting Stuxnet. Their analysis revealed not just the weapon itself, but the infrastructure behind it. Evidence of a sophisticated ongoing operation, not a single attack. They identified digital signatures that pointed to the same group of developers having built other tools. Those tools had names. Duke, a surveillance platform related to Stuxnet's codebase, designed to steal information from industrial targets before an attack. Flame, the most complex espionage tool ever discovered, capable of recording audio, taking screenshots, logging keystrokes, and transmitting data covertly. Gauss, a banking surveillance tool targeting Lebanese financial institutions with links to Hezbollah. Olympic Games was not one weapon, it was a platform. A full-spectrum offensive cyber capability built by American and Israeli intelligence that had been running for years before the world knew it existed, and then The second consequence arrived: imitation. In December 2015, the lights went out in western Ukraine. A cyber attack hit 3 regional power distribution companies. Simultaneously, 230,000 people lost power. It lasted 6 hours. Investigators later identified the attack as the work of Sandworm, a hacking group linked to Russian military intelligence. The malware they used, Industrier, followed the same logic as Stuxnet. It was designed to communicate with industrial control systems and issue commands that caused physical damage. The engineers of Olympic Games had solved the hardest problem in industrial cyber attack. They had proven it could be done. They had documented exactly how. Their code, once escaped, had become a textbook in 2017. WannaCry ransomware hit 200,000 computers across 150 countries. It used Eternal Blue, a hacking tool developed by the NSA, leaked by a group calling themselves the Shadow Brokers. Same principle as Stuxnet, a classified government-developed cyberweapon now in the wild. The UK's National Health Service was crippled, surgeries were cancelled, ambulances were rerouted, patient records became inaccessible. The same year, NotPetya, initially disguised as ransomware, but actually designed purely to destroy, caused an estimated $10 billion in damage globally, the most destructive cyber attack in history. And then there was Oldsmar, Florida, February 2021. A water treatment plant operator was sitting at his computer when he noticed the cursor moving on its own. Someone had remotely accessed the system before his eyes. The settings for sodium hydroxide, the chemical used to balance water pH, began to change. The attacker increased the concentration from 111 parts per million to 11,100 parts per million, a level that would have been immediately dangerous to anyone drinking the water. The operator caught it. He corrected the settings manually. The town's water supply was never actually contaminated, but the attack was real. The access was real. The Oldsmar plant ran on remote desktop software and industrial control systems, the same categories of vulnerability that Stuxnet's architects had mapped and exploited a decade earlier. Olympic Games was not a reckless act. The people who built it understood exactly what they were creating. A senior Obama administration official later told the New York Times, the newspaper that first reported the program's existence in 2012, that there were discussions about precedent, about what it meant for the United States to be the first nation to use a cyber weapon to cause physical destruction, about whether adversaries would feel licensed to respond in kind against American infrastructure. The answer the administration reached was that the alternative, an Iranian nuclear weapon or a conventional military strike, was worse. They were probably right about the immediate calculus. They set back Iran's nuclear program by years. They bought time. But the precedent they set did not stay theoretical. Every state actor with offensive cyber capability has studied Stuxnet. Russia studied it. Before Ukraine, China studied it. Before a decade of infrastructure infiltration campaigns, criminal groups studied it. Before ransomware attacks on hospitals and pipelines, the CIA and Mossad built the most sophisticated piece of malware in history. They used it precisely and effectively, and the moment it left their control, they gave the world something they could never take back. The Natanz facility, the original target, continued operating. Iran eventually acknowledged some centrifuge issues, denied significant damage, and rebuilt. A nuclear deal was reached in 2015. It collapsed in 2018. Negotiations continued in various forms. The facility at Natanz still exists. The code that was designed to attack, it exists everywhere. The industrial control systems running your city's water supply, the power grid feeding your building, the management systems inside your hospital, they run on software architectures that Stuxnet's designers cataloged and compromised 15 years ago. Many of those systems have not been updated. Many were never designed with the possibility of remote attack in mind. Security researchers estimate that a significant percentage of industrial control systems currently connected to the internet, and many that should not be connected, but remain vulnerable to variations of exactly the techniques Stuxnet pioneered. The CIA and Mossad set out to stop a nuclear program. They succeeded, and in doing so, they taught the entire world how to attack the infrastructure that keeps modern civilization running. In 2018, a group of security researchers discovered new activity from the same code cluster that had produced Stuxnet, Duke, and Flame. The platform had not been abandoned. The work had continued. The question was never whether nations would build cyber weapons. The question was who would use them next, and against what. In 2022, the answer arrived in Ukraine. Not just rockets and artillery, but coordinated attacks on power, communications, and rail systems. The future that Stuxnet's escape made possible had arrived. The weapon is still out there. The techniques are still being used, and the industrial systems they were designed to destroy are still running the world.